Hi, my name is Jesse at Trash Panda, and I have to be honest for a second. I played disc golf for 12 years without ever asking myself, what the heck is that thing on the center of the bottom of almost every disc? As I've come to now find out, it's the injection point. It's the witness mark to the fact that this disc was made with injection molding. But if you're paying super close attention, there are some discs out there that don't have that injection point on the bottom, meaning they were made in a different way. And today, I wanted to talk to you about two alternative ways that discs are made. So today I want to talk about two alternative ways that discs are made, and while talking about them, we're going to throw them on a couple holes so you can see how they fly. The second way is a little newer, more modern, and it's an exciting technology, but the first way, it's been around for a while, and it actually goes back to some discs that, well, they're cult classics. If you're unfamiliar with Vibram discs, they've been around for a minute, and they actually stopped producing for a while, but I think they made some last year, so I'm not really sure where things are at. But the most interesting thing about these discs is that they're made completely different than almost any other disc on the market. And that's with compression molding. Compression molding is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically just pressure, a material inside, and some added heat to mold something into a product. And what's most exciting about compression molding, and why there's even different types of molding in general, is because they're designed for different materials. So this material is different than anything else. It's a thermoset rubber. Now that might sound complicated, and yeah, it can be complicated, but generally when it comes to plastics and rubbers, there's two major types. There's thermosets and thermoplastics. Thermoplastics are well known because they can be melted down and recycled, whereas thermosets cannot. What I think is most interesting about these discs is that another disc came out last year that taught me something I didn't know about these. And that's that when it comes to compression molding, you actually can recycle thermoset rubbers. So I want to talk to you about that in a second, but first we have to throw it. And we're on a hole with a frozen lake in the middle, so yeah, Vibram discs are a little hard to come by, and well, we've got one shot. By the way, if anyone knows what an 8 fade, a 450 speed, and a 9 turn is, please let me know in the comments, because this is the first throw ever with this. I have no idea what's gonna happen. It's great. He loves it. All right, so it got a little windy out there, and now we're down in the trees, and this is the perfect place to tell you about another company that recently came onto the scene. If you haven't already heard of them, Elevation Discs is based out of Texas. I think they started in California, but they're in Texas now, and they're pretty well known for an extremely flexible disc. Their discs are actually made out of the same type of rubber as Vibram discs. So last year, I was incredibly interested when they came out with a disc that contained up to 30% recycled materials. If I'm being totally honest, knowing it was thermoset, I was a little surprised that they said it had recycled materials because I didn't know that was possible. So because of their work, I did my research and I found that when it comes to compression molding, you can actually use thermoset rubbers and recycle them in the process. So to the team at Elevation for the work they've done for bringing that technology specifically on the recycled side to disc golf, well done. And it actually putts nicely too. This video is sponsored by Athletic Greens, and I'm super excited about this one because it's super personal to me. As many of you may remember, the end of last year got a little bit hectic, and the first thing to go was my health. So coming into the new year, I've been super intent on eating well, drinking responsibly, and carving out new routines. And AG1 by Athletic Greens has simultaneously turned into the most effortless and most impactful daily habit I've picked up. AG1 is a comprehensive daily nutritional beverage made up of 75 high-quality, whole food sourced ingredients, including vitamins, minerals, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens, all carefully curated to nourish all the body's systems holistically. After a month of taking it every single morning, I've already noticed increased clarity and focus as well as sustained energy. Like literally on days we're filming, I'll just take AG1 in the mornings and I'll be good to go for like 4 hours. So if you're looking for that nutritional peace of mind, go to athleticgreens.com/trashpanda to get started with your order. And Athletic Greens is offering our community a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Like I said at the beginning, this one's super personal for me, so thank you, Athletic Greens. So we've talked about compression molding and we all know about injection molding, but there's actually a third way that discs are made that doesn't utilize a mold at all, and it's 3D printing. Now I think a lot of people early on wrote 3D printing off because it typically utilizes PLA and ABS plastics, which are super hard and thus when used in disc golf applications basically just crack. But as you can see, that's not the only material you can 3D print with. So down in Arizona, there's a gentleman named Jason who started a company called NSH Custom Discs, and he basically built his own, modified his own, customized his own 3D printer, and he makes 3D printed discs out of TPU. And believe it or not, last year for the first time ever, 3D printed discs got PDGA approved. Now, to be totally honest, I'm not sure how I feel about 3D printed discs. I can see the cons that typically people would say, like, it's just gonna oversaturate the market because the barrier to entry is lower. But I actually think the barrier to entry lowering is really a good thing. At the end of the day, if more people come into the sport, if we have more customization, innovation, and 3D printing allows for that, then I think the top level, what ultimately will happen is it'll push people to be better. And in my opinion, that's all we can ask for. If you haven't felt these discs before, they're made with TPU, which is the base plastic that's in what we know as premium plastics, so they actually feel pretty similar. The only thing is you can kind of feel the ridges from which they were, the 3D printing like filament actually laid down. That's kind of interesting. I believe there's like a chemical bath that you can do that kind of smooths it out. I also don't love the idea of just like a chemical bath, so it's kind of an interesting process, but overall the feel isn't that crazy different, and I think it might open up and unlock some interesting doors in disc golf. But let's show you how they fly. All right, before this super creative transition, I was sitting on that log yonder, and now we're back here at the tee pad. The basket's just beyond it, and I'm gonna throw this disc. It's the teleporter, and I believe it's overstable, so I'm just gonna hang it out wide and we'll see where we can get to. Looks nice. Oh, all right. A little more pinched off than we'd like. Got hung up in this tree. Take Mr. Putt, their putt and approach. Well, forehand just hanging around. Sit. Honestly, I think what's surprising me most is the flight and feel of these discs. It's really not that different. Yes, it's different, but the technology is a little newer or it's less utilized. I think there's some hopeful places for this in our sport. And yeah, at the end of the day, it works. All right, so what's the conclusion? What's the moral of the story? First and foremost for me, I just wanted to tell you about what I've learned since starting Trash Panda, because I think the way that discs are made is super interesting, and at the very least I wanted to share it with you. But I also think there's something super exciting about the 3 ways that I've found that discs are made so far. At the end of the day, disc golf is growing like crazy, and it's reaching new pockets and places in our world that might not have access to injection molding, but they could use 3D printing. Or the sport is growing and certain needs might arise where 3D printing can help with customization and tournaments or prototyping or whatever that injection molding can't handle. I just think at the end of the day, the variation and ways that discs are made just shows how creative we can get with this sport and how much further we can take the technology. Yes, as with anything positive, there's going to be some cons. There's surely some negatives, and maybe you've already commented your opinion on those. But I think overall, the future of our sport is super exciting, and I can't wait to see future ways that discs are made. So thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to support the channel, and we'll see you next time. All right, if you made it this far, I realized I didn't mention overmolded discs at all. And that's because they're still injection molded. They're just injection molded with a 2-part process. But that said, you might be wondering, where is that second witness mark for the overmolded part of the disc? And you might already know this, so if you do, good for you. But if you didn't, there's actually 3 witness marks around the edge of the disc. And if you look closely, you might just be able to see one.